All right, Metal Maniacs, it's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I am very, very excited today. I am chatting with the one and only Mr. Tony Spillman, of course, of Chicago metal band Spillage. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Hey man, I doing no well. Thank you so much for having me on, dude.
Yeah.
I appreciated our pre-video talk. We'll keep that secret because those IRS agents out there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Right on. Nice. Well, you guys have a lot going on right now, of course, but the most exciting news, I think, is the fact that brand new album coming out September 8th, if I have the date right,
Yep,
officially.
you are correct, sir. Now it will be the CD release. Now the vinyl release, manufacturing. I'm sure you're aware of. That's always pushed out so much.
Yeah.
So we do have some specials for pre-ordering of the vinyl, but the CD and the digital releases, yes, September 8th.
Nice. Of course, new. This is the fourth full length album from Spillage.
Yes.
Phase Four is the name of the album.
Yep.
I was lucky enough to get an advanced digital copy of the album, and I have to say it kicks ass. It is
Oh,
fantastic.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Really great album. I've been really enjoying it since I got a copy of it. Listening to it constantly. Listened to it today actually. Um,
Awesome.
and yesterday. Yeah, really loving it. It's a great
Good.
album.
Good. What do you think is just sticking out for you? What do you like about it? I mean, right now, since it's so fresh in your mind.
It's what I like is, and I've liked your music for a while now, but one, it's cool because I mean, you're known for your riff, you're a riff driven guitar player, and so it's a
Exactly.
really riff driven album, but it's also got some really interesting complexity to it. I think both lyrically and just the melodies. And
Hmm.
I was kind of telling you this before, like I said, I love all your music, and I thought Electric Exorcist was a fantastic album, your previous album. But this is like a step above. I think you guys really outdid yourselves.
Oh, thank
uh,
you.
and yeah, did that answer the question? I mean, there's just so much
Yeah,
I like
no,
about it.
well, no, I asked the same question to those cats I was talking to you about in the Netherlands on the other interview I had done, and when I asked them, what was it about Spillage that really attracts? Because we have some good following over there, and the cool thing that this cat said was is that when you put on a Spillage record, you can play it from the beginning to the end. And
Mm,
it's not like you're skipping a track or
yeah,
anything like that, and that's really our goal. Well, I mean, of course, our goal is to write, as many great good songs as we can. But then, with that formula is like, when you want to change some keys, you want to change, and I don't mean keys like keyboards, keys like A, E, A, G, keys, and then also tempos and stuff, and then so you want to make it like a roller coaster ride
yeah.
for lack of a better, so you don't you want to listen to the whole record as a whole, like back in the 70s, the riff rock days that we'll call it, and that's who we call us,
Yeah.
that's kind of how some of the records went, they you know uh, so that's why I was asking, is because I'm always interested, with this talking to cats like yourself that really enjoy the music, and we as a band like to know, like, what is it, because we Billy, our bass player, will say, we're just like our record collection. So,
Nice.
so
Yeah, I think it's what I love about it, and I think that's a good point that the gentleman that you mentioned made is, yeah, there's definitely no filler with I think any of your albums, especially with this one. There's definitely no filler, and it's the type of album for me where it finishes and I start right back over again because I want more. I want, even though it's
because
like it's a
why?
good length. But yeah,
You know why? Because it's not the end; it's just the beginning.
nice, nice.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just, yeah, it's punchy. But there's some really nice complexity to it, I think.
Thank you.
One thing I think that's yeah, like you mentioned, yeah, it's like your record collection of the record collection of the band. So there's definitely certain influences that come out, but at the same time, it's very unique and you have your own voice for sure. which I also love. But I mean, there's some nice Uriah Heep vibes going on, especially with the keys. And I think yeah, you're I don't yeah, I really enjoy it. I think it's you guys are doing some really cool stuff.
Okay.
And um and I think, especially like when you listen to rock, what passes as rock radio now in America, like we're missing this kind of music, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Sure.
This really riff driven, really cohesive. I mean, that's one thing that I like about your band is I think it feels like you guys, and I know you've been together for a while, 10-year anniversary this year.
Yes, this is
But
it.
but I know you guys have all known each other for a very long time,
Sure.
yeah, you guys you gel so well together as a band. It's obvious that you're very comfortable, not just comfortable playing with one another, but you enjoy playing with one another. And I think that comes out in your records, and definitely came out in phase 4, I think, as well. If
Yeah.
if I may be so bold.
Oh no, and, and I appreciate that. It makes me smile as I, as you can't tell. But yeah, I feel pretty fortunate. Not only just with the cats in the band, but just the way being able to write and record the music that I wanted to do. I had that vision of a solid riff rock band, and I know as growing up and in my influences, I mean, I've loved music my whole life, and but my favorite time would have to be probably like 74 to like maybe 80s, I mean, right, early 80s, and it was the riff rock stuff with I mean, like Ted Nugent and even Aerosmith and Sweet, I mean, people talk about like thrash music, like, oh, we started thrash music. Man, Sweet may have started thrash music. They were a
Yeah,
great riff rock glam band, but it's all these influences, and that's what I think makes Spillage special in my heart. Is because from Paul and his classical influences, and being a music instructor, and Nick and his total Michael Schenker, just kind of a style,
yeah,
him and Richie Blackmore, with that picking, he always would tell me, he would say, he was like, oh, I'm not that shredder. I'm not, all those arpeggios, those cats, which I appreciate. I appreciate the arpeggios and, when they're placed properly. I think they're a little bit overdone. But one of the great things about Nick's soloing is that he appropriates a solo that complements the material that we're playing. So he's not overplaying of the song. He's complementing. It's like putting the icing a bit here, or curving the edges. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
You feel it? So it's not like it's like in fact, it's where our goal is to help it smoothly, transfer through. If that
yeah.
makes sense, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
definitely. Yeah, well said. I think, yeah, I totally agree. And I think, the two of you, I think you and Nick really play off of each other really well. There's almost that kind of, and I'm a sucker for that dual guitar stuff. So I think you guys, like kind of that Thin Lizzy kind of vibe. And yeah, I think you
Sure.
guys do some really cool stuff together. Like, you really feed off of each other's energy and
Right.
vibes. And yeah, it's great stuff. Yeah. And this new album, whew, it's just smoking. It's such a smoking album.
Well, thanks. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the troubles, not troubles. Oh, speaking of Bruce Franklin, of trouble, that wasn't like the troubles, but, Bruce has been, very close friend of mine for 100 years. I grew up, I was his guitar tech for a number of years before I even got into playing myself.
Oh,
I was on the first Trouble record, and left, during the Skull tour.
okay.
So, their second record, but he's produced all of the Spillage records, and
Oh,
this last one here, Phase 4, I really wanted to get involved because I've been hearing in my head what I hear Spillage, and it was much more predominant keyboard influence,
hmm.
and and I think you can hear that through. I mean, now that you've heard the first opposed to, I mean, we've always had the keyboards involved, but it's very predominant,
Yeah,
especially right off the bat with Phase 4 with the big solo in the beginning. So
yeah,
um so I took more of a little bit of a control of the producing part of it, which I've never done before. I've always felt I have Bruce Franklin and Lothar Keller, mixing and producing. Those guys have perfect pitch, great, ears, and no hidden agendas. They just want the best overall. But each time I was, and all the guys in the band can attest to this. It's like I was like, oh, I like this, but this is one thing that's always nagging on me, of all the records. And so this time I thought, I'm just going to take control of that part of it myself. And so I did. But the cool thing was is that I still had my brother Bruce in my back pocket, because he would come in on Fridays after I'd work all week on it and go, well, you might want to adjust this a bit. Nah, because even when you're doing 3-part harmonies, um, all 3 notes, sometimes there's a conflict. Sometimes, that's what made Kansas such a great band. Because but we won't get into that because I could talk to you hours about it. But yeah, so he would come in and he was kind of like my safety net. He would help me like fine tune maybe took out the eraser a bit, and cleaned it up a little bit. So I was fortunate, to have that. And then but this was the first time I'd taken control like that, and I really wanted to, if we weren't ever going to do anything else, excuse me, I wanted this to be at least as close as my vision that I've ever had. uh and so that's why I'm really happy to hear you say that, because I believe it's a bright, exciting record.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. Yeah, it's very cool. And that's it's interesting because I think you mentioned, yeah, like musically, I think that's a great description of it, that it's bright, and it's interesting because lyrically it's a little dark and kind of, dystopian almost. There's a sci-fi element. There's some really
Sure.
cool, really interesting lyrics there. And I was curious about that. So does Elvin mostly write the lyrics? Do you write the lyrics?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Elvin, not only is he a crazy little Puerto Rican, you love that guy. You cannot not love Elvin. I mean, the guy, he sleeps with a smile on his face. I mean, he's just always happy. He's a great vocalist, and we knew that when we brought him in. What we didn't know about Elvin is his how great of a lyricist he was. I mean, I had written the lyrics on all of the first Spillage record, which I will say sophomoristic, if at best. Um, and when we brought him on, we already had a lot of the Blood of Angels material, recorded, or just like just little skims of them, and we would send him these tracks, and almost immediately, and when I say immediately, Victor, I'm saying like almost within an hour, he was sending us a freaking song back, that we
Wow.
were, and we'd sit there and go, with the jaw dropped over there, going, "Who the heck is this cat?" You know what I'm saying? Um, and that went on for a bit, and so we didn't realize of how great of a lyricist he was, and so he and I had a conversation, because I mean, I'm sure you see a little bit of a theme in the Spillage songs. Is, yeah, they can be pretty dark,
Yeah.
and dealing with some pretty serious issues. We try to end things with a little bit of a positiveness, uh, you know, um, you know, uh, an open area where people can make their own conclusions, without imposing on other folks,
Yeah.
but so yeah, he writes all of the lyrics. He has since the second record, Blood of Angels. All the guys in the band, they give him an idea. Nick and him worked really closely on Book of Secrets, on the which we feel is a great song. I don't know if it got missed by the world, but we feel that was a great. But they did some great work on Book of Secrets, and um, so yeah. But he does all the writing of the lyrics with a little bit of prompts. Hey, let's like Phase 4. I said, hey, I want to write. I'm talking about mad scientist theme.
Mm.
So let's do and it's all like because of the world's things that are going on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That brings up that's something I'm interested in. Is I was curious about the writing process. So does it start with you? Do you start with riffs? Do you start with a concept? Like kind of how does what's the writing process like for you guys?
Well, actually, on the first record, I wrote everything,
Okay.
lyrically, well, as far as the leads, Bruce Franklin of Trouble, he recorded with me of some soul leads and stuff like that. Nick Bozadarvich was also did solos, but as far as like I did all the rhythm tracks, all of that. From there, bringing Nick on, we started splitting the records.
Okay.
So he would come in with a song, and we would arrange. He and I write the songs like musically for the most part, the shells of them. And then, but we bring it in and like all the guys, then we spillage them, then we all like, tear it apart and put it together and like, hey, what if we do this? It's like put everybody's has their little hands in there, like we're molding it. And then when it comes out, we go, what I mean? So then we put it back on the wheel and mold it again. And then So that's how the music part comes out. Elvin, if we let Elvin, he won't shut up through the whole doggone song. He'll just keep singing. You know what I mean? So we're like, hey man, this is a lead break, quiet here for a moment. So yeah, so Nick and I, we bring in the songs as far as riff. We structure them for the most part, verse, chorus, bridge. We talk about key changes, and then we just put it into that spillage blender, and then come out with that, and then just burning off the wheat and the chaff type stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of times, one of our things is sometimes less is more. Because being some people think that we could be kind of a proggy-ish band, with a lot going on, and we can with three treble clef instruments. But we really try to make every instrument have its place and its purpose. Um, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's one of the things that I really love about you guys is there's that progressive element, but at the same time, yeah, it's such a riff driven band. It's great. It's really rocking. So yeah, I hate to keep doing the comparison, but yeah, I think that's for me kind of that Uriah Heep, because they were
Sure,
so good at that too. I think
sure, sure.
really guitar driven, but then the progressive elements as well, and in fact, you guys even recorded a Uriah Heep song.
Yeah.
Yeah, with I think didn't you mentioned Lothar? I think he performed on that song, didn't he?
Yeah, he did the high parts. Lothar, he can hit that high C, no problem. So it's like, yeah, he did the backgrounds. That was Elvin's choice. I
Oh,
think
okay.
we were talking about doing Gypsy.
Hmm.
That was when we did that. It was a change where we were trying to get more keyboard dominant, like in our sound. So we wanted to throw that out there to the world, like a really heavy keyboard thing. And so we were thinking about doing, of course, you write Heap Tune, but we were thinking about doing Gypsy, and a lot of it's been done a few times, but you know, that's okay. But then Elvin brought to us, he goes, "What about this? Let's do Look at Yourself." And it's a great composition,
Yeah.
beautiful song, and so. Yeah. So, when you got your vocalist that's you want to like, yeah, let's do it. So,
Yeah, that is a great track. That is a great track. Yeah, yeah. And I thought Lothar did a nice job on that too. And yeah, I mean, the total side note, but is that like the most metal name ever, Lothar Keller? Like,
well, those Germans.
yeah.
I mean, you want to hear a funny story about that crazy guy. For the Electric Exorcist video that we did, that I play the lead Electric Exorcist guy. He was supposed to play that role.
Oh,
He
interesting.
Yeah, well, I know. Yeah, he's long hair. He's a big, handsome, German cat. Lothar the Destroyer. That's what I always called him. Uh, uh, well, he goes off to North Carolina to marry his beautiful bride, Rena, and God bless them. But they both get sick, and they're coming back, and we're right in the middle of COVID.
Oh
And
no.
so I was in between making the decision, do we just shut the whole production down, because I did everything controlled, like it was controlled environments, all the locations. So because of course everything was still in the unknown. You don't know what the hell was going on
Yeah.
anywhere, you know. And I was about ready to shut it down, and then he said, "We're both sick," and so on a Wednesday I had to make the decision because we started shooting on Friday if we were going to move forward, and we decided to. But I had to be the dude then, you know. So anyway, so that's how all that came about. But yeah, no, he's totally got the name. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's such a
actually,
memorable.
Sacred Dawn, you know, his on Qumran Records, their new records coming out too.
Yeah,
Dismal
that's right.
Swamp, which is got a lot of great stuff on there too. If you get the opportunity to take a look at it, you know, really cool stuff. He's a great vocalist. There's just a lot of great musicians on that in that band. So
A
you know,
great band.
worth taking a listen to if you get an opportunity.
I do have Dismal Swamp, and it's excellent.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, right on. Very cool.
In
Yeah,
fact, I'm
yeah.
interviewing Lothar soon as well. So
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
yeah,
Very cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So he has that deep voice. He'll talk like this. Oh, oh. Yeah. So
That's
you can make fun of you tell him I made fun of him when we
all
were
right. I'll
here.
call him Lothar to
Say
the
Tony. Yeah.
Lothar to the Destroyer.
Yeah. There
I
you
love
go.
that.
Awesome.
That is great. Well, back to Spillage.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about kind of the origins of the band because I know you've been in bands previous, and of course, this is the 10th anniversary of Spillage, but you've
Yeah.
been doing stuff for many years. So
Yeah.
I was curious about kind of the origins of Spillage, how it came about, how it started. I know that's probably a loaded question.
No, not really. You know, I was doing a lot of. I've been in music for a long time. Like I had mentioned, you know, I started with Trouble back in oh gosh, in 1981, maybe. It might have been that far back. Um, Prior to that, I played in some little rock and roll bands, and wrote, as it says in my thing, I listened to Yeah Yeah songs because I always thought I would be a singer songwriter, is what I
Okay.
thought as a kid I was going to be. That or baseball player because I wanted to be a baseball player too, you know. As it turns out, I didn't become either one, you know.
Right.
But but hey, we here we are, right? So but I've always been enjoyed melody, and that's one of the things I think that carries on and through Spillage is that I enjoyed Bread, Three Dog Night. Harry Nilsson in the 70s is one of my favorite singer
Oh,
songwriters of all
great.
time. He was a
Yeah.
freak and crazy, but I might be too. So,
Yeah.
but great vocalist, you know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
singer songwriters, that's who I wanted to be. Then then here we come into the mid 70s, like I said, and Kiss is out there, and blowing, and then there was UFO, like those early UFO and that riff, man, da 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 da. I mean, you know what I'm saying, or the Doobie Brothers,
Oh, yeah.
like with that they had that riff. I mean, China Grove, dude, come on, you're at the pool in 1975, and you hear da da da. You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going off the high dive today,
Yeah. I've got the
right? You know
courage.
what I'm saying, right? It gets that adrenaline pumping. But I think that's what really got me into wanting to be that riff rock type of thing because each song has its own identity, and so as we all know, there's only a few things that can really tie into our memory banks and things like that, like smells, tastes, touch, hearing, right? So um you know it's really hard to be a riff rock band, to be able to be relevant, to continue to write something new, and so it doesn't sound the same. The early Judas Priest stuff is a great example. The early UFO stuff is a great example. The early well, I'll even say Iron Maiden, and even that late 70s riff rock was still there. A lot of it coming from Europe still, like Saxon and Armored Saints. You remember all that?
Oh,
That
yeah.
was still heavy riff. Angel Witch, bands that didn't even like make it here. But they were still following that riff rock, heavy rock style, where each song had its groove and its own identity, and that was kind of my what I was really trying to do to when I was making Spillage.
Nice. Nice. Very cool. Um, so you mentioned, and I love this. I love the fact that you called what you wanted to do as the yeah music, which I love because you were obsessed with the Beatles. I
Yes.
read that you
Yeah.
love the Beatles, and I love the Beatles.
Yes.
So take me back. Let's go in the Wayback Machine. I'm sure that's as you remember from Professor What's His Face from the Bullwinkle and Rocky show. Let's go take a ride in the Wayback Machine.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and talk to me about kind of your start in music. Did you come from a musical family? What was the impetus for you to start playing
Oh
guitar?
boy. Well, well, I didn't really come from a family. I was kind of a street kid, a little
Oh,
bit on.
wow.
Um, I grew up as kind of a baseball player. I was a really good ball player when I was a little kid, but I didn't really have a strong family structure. And when I was like 14, I was like, kind of living all over the place. And I came to, but still a big music lover, I've been a music lover since a tiny kid, like I said, Three Dog Night, Harry Nilsson and stuff. So so when I say 14, we're talking about like 1977, 78, I believe. I was living at different friends' houses and doing stuff like that. And a friend of mine, a musical guy who's passed away since, Bob Dieter, a great guitar player. He's the one that I started playing in bands with him
Hmm.
a bit, learning and trying to sing, but still like a kid. And but that's kind of where the musical thing started for me. And then, being a more of a street kind of kid, I moved around still a bunch. So I like moved to Kansas City and moved back to Aurora, Chicago, and always like cruising. And when I was 17, and that's when I had this huge baseball tryout. That was like, because that's what I was really going to be. I was really going to be a baseball player. So I had this huge tryout for, I was the Detroit Tigers, the Orioles, and Cleveland were there. It was all that, and it was on the south side of Chicago, and I just failed miserably, Victor. I mean, like I was playing the best baseball ever, and just like collapsed. It
Oh
was
no.
brutal. And so I was thinking, what am I going to do? I'm going to either join the army because what do you do? And then I went on tour and started working for Trouble instead. so,
Wow. Good choice. Good choice.
so that's what really got me from there. I started working with Trouble. I stayed with those guys like a different period, working, Perkins as a cook and doing all those things, how to get by. And then we
Yeah.
would go on tour, record a record or stuff like that. And but then I got into that led to Iron Maiden, which I did some work with on the Number of the Beast tour, which
Oh,
led me
cool.
to my first wife, which led me to my three children. And of course, then that chapter started.
Wow.
So,
Nice. I did not
yeah,
know that you did work with Iron Maiden. That's really cool.
yeah. Well, that was the second leg of the Number of the Beast tour, which was, if you look in the Guinness Book of World Records, I believe they did the most live dates in 1 year on that Number of the Beast tour.
Wow.
They did like two cycles almost around the world in 1 year.
Jeez, that's
I
crazy.
can't, no, especially they were young then, but man, do you remember that? They were like running up and down all this. I mean,
Yeah, Bruce still runs constantly. I don't know how he does it. Like I get tired watching him.
dude, I'm the same way.
Like,
So
man.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of I mean, yeah, is that kind of like what you were asking? Like kind of that
Yeah, I was curious kind of how it all came together. And I know you were in what Earth and Grave
yep, with
and
Rachel. Yeah.
um Warfare were some of the bands, it's those were some,
Yeah,
and I know you
Warfare.
did a cover band too. You were in a was it a Alice in Chains cover band,
Yep.
Angry Chair?
Yep,
Um,
exactly. Yep.
who else was in that band? Because I swear I've talked to somebody before that was in that band, but I don't know who it was. I can't remember.
Jason Ward was the third bass player in that band, who also played with Flotsam and Jetsam, if
Okay.
that may have been him. Um, Dave McCormick was the vocalist, second guitar player, because we in Angry Chair, we because Alice in Chains played two sides guitars, so
Yeah.
we played live two guitars. And actually The funny thing about that is we really didn't sound like Alice in Chains. We were like a heavy band that played Alice in Chains music, which was,
Oh, okay.
man, I made the most money ever playing that stuff. I mean, it was funny, but I'll tell you, I had to keep a 32, 34 song catalog in my head, and I
Man.
couldn't write a freaking song to save my life during that time.
Wow.
Everything sounded like Alice in Chains, and funny is I think one review on the first Spillage record said somebody said something that sounded like Alice in Chains, and my mouth was like, "What?"
Yeah. No.
Denied. But no, not that it's like early. I like that. Don't get me wrong. I
Oh
wasn't.
yeah, yeah. Jerry's a great songwriter, I think.
Yeah, no, great songwriter. You are correct, and that's what attracted me. Even though the contents of some of the lyrics were freaky, great songwriting. Yeah, I will say that. And here's a little inside bit with that is that Alice in Chains' predominant key is a D sharp key, and that's Spillage's predominant key as well. I mean,
Oh,
we do have multiple different tunings that we use, obviously, but yeah, so that's one correlation.
wow. Interesting. That is
Yeah.
interesting. Wow. So as we kind of circle back, we talked about, the new album is released on September 8th, which is actually my son's no, it's not my son's birthday. His birthday's the 18th. Never mind.
Well, happy birthday. What's your son's name?
Apostolos. It's Greek.
Apostolos. Happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. So he'll be around the time of the release of the album. So I was curious. So, the album comes out on September 8th. Do you guys do you have touring going on to promote the album? Like what's do you have any shows coming up?
Oh, no, Victor, times are tough right now. We have some shows. Yeah, we have a festival that we're doing August 12th
Hmm.
here in Illinois. Um, uh, to not get too in detail, things are difficult for not just our level of bands,
Yeah.
all bands touring right now. Economy has a big part to do with it. For whatever reason, everybody has their whatever they want to bitch about or whatever. I have my own opinions, you know what I mean? But I'm a rock and roll guy, I'll keep those opinions right now to myself right now. Um, but what has happened, and then, like I said, it's not just bands on our level. Things have become. I mean, I've heard Dave Mustaine stepping out and talking about it. We're just not making money, And
Yeah.
the bottom line is nobody's out there trying to freaking, drive a Bentley. But I'd like to be able to pay to have a hotel room. Maybe get some dinner for my group.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's come to the point a lot here in Chicago, as well as that they want upfront money for production before any. And then I'm going to get a 70-30 split of someone that's coming to see Spillage, and it's just an unfortunate circumstance. You try to go on the road, and I don't mind. We've done it a bunch, but there becomes those type of issues. Now I've got a gas issue that before, I was at. Now I'm double gas, and I'm not making money and I'm paying double. And so it makes it really difficult. We're trying to find new ways to reach out. We did a couple of weeks ago, we did a live stream at our rehearsal area.
Yeah, that was killer.
Yeah, so we're gonna maybe try to figure out a way, get better. So, I can rent a studio and do a live freaking performance for $1,000 opposed to going and doing 3 shows over a weekend and spending 2,500.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and and I love doing the live stuff. All the guys in the band just love doing it because I mean that's we're old cats, we're players, I mean that's what we
Yeah.
do. But I we also have I got responsibilities to take care of these cats too, and so that's really what it comes down to. I mean, I, we like I had mentioned, we have people asking us to come play all over all the time. It's just it's logistics is what comes down to it.
Yeah,
So
makes sense. Makes sense. Well, and it's also unfortunate, I think, and pardon my language, and I'm going to be really blunt, but I think it's unfortunate that you have venues, these assholes that are now taking a cut of the merchandise.
That's been going on for a while, though.
Yeah,
Now I'm glad that they're bringing it up. I mean, it's the same thing as freaking Spotify. I mean, they're jamming it up there without the Vaseline, any opportunity. We're still struggling with that. You know, they have us all over the place, if you could believe it, and then they tell us to go back to our distribution. It's a disaster, bro. It's just
it's very unfortunate. Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
Well, what it does is it's killing. It like we had mentioned, you know, the industry had been struggling for a few years anyway, and I mean, it's really killing the opportunity for. You know, with the internet, we are way saturated with all kinds of music, right? I mean, a lot of not so good stuff either.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful that they have the opportunity, or we all have that opportunity. I could fall in that category as well. I'm grateful for the opportunity. However, with that, and what's happening is like there's no opportunity to support, you know, solid, you know, recordings. Yeah, I don't know how else to say it. You know what I mean? I just don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, so, I agree. I think it's really unfortunate that you have, you know, we now have a global economy and global. I mean, you can get music from anywhere in the world, and you know, as you mentioned earlier, you know, the Spillage has become very popular in, you know, the Netherlands and Germany, European countries. So you have an audience there, which, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you might not have had, because it was, you know, it wasn't so easy to get that music.
Wasn't available, right?
But you know, with Spotify, like, you're not making any money. You know, some asshole CEOs making a shit ton of money, and you guys aren't getting. That's where I get really frustrated, is with the bands aren't making the money, and that's why I try to buy direct anytime I can from a band.
Right. Well, and that's why we appreciate it. And you know, but I'm really glad about the like the cats that we have, like the Snoop Dogs and the other cats that are like way up there saying, "Hey, what's going on, man?" You know what I mean? You know, I have 1 million freaking listens, and then you sent me $12.
Yeah. What's that?
I'm like, because I mean, honestly, I think last time I had checked, I think or that I had heard, I think I was making about 0.14% of a cent.
That's obscene. That's absurd. That's insanity.
So so there you have it. But they'll send you $30 of pages that tell you about your 0.14 of a cent.
Right. Yeah. That's where the money's going, I guess. That's frustrating. That is frustrating.
I know where the money's going.
Well, I'm gonna put the word out. People, pick up some Spillage stuff, especially this new album, because I think
man. Fantastic. You know, the best place to get those is at spillage-online.com. You know, that's our direct website. That's really the best stuff, and we have all kinds of other stuff too. You know, that they can get. You know, previous records. That great live record that's not selling, you can get that cheap now. so
nice. Yeah, and great. Yeah, you guys are such great music, and that's it's out there. It's a bit, you know, and for those watching this interview, if you look in the description below, there's links to that page as well as the Facebook page, the Spillage Facebook page, so you can check them out if you haven't heard them before, and you will be very happy when you do, because you know, this is what it's about. This is, you know, like true rock and roll, true metal. You guys are doing the honest, the good stuff. You guys are doing what, you know, the stuff that I've always loved since I was a kid. Like, you know, I think that was the thing that for me, it's you know, not to get too gushy and you know, but I think it was, you know, that first time, and I don't know when it was, years ago, whenever it was that I first heard Spillage years ago. It was one of those things, as soon as I heard it, like kind of stopped me in my tracks. I'm like, "Ooh, what's that? This is the stuff I like. This is what I want."
Wow.
You know, from music. You know, because there's just, you know, as you mentioned, I mean, there's just so much shit out there now. You know, because anybody can record, which is a good thing. I like the fact that, you know, anybody can record in their basement. You know, with the technology. I mean, you can record with your phone, which is great. You know, it's amazing. You know, my 15-year-old self would be like, "What? That's not possible." But but because of that, there's a lot of garbage out there, and it's
Yeah.
hard to sift through that sometimes
Yep.
as a listener, because there's just, as you said, it's, you know, we've kind of been inundated with music, and
Hmm.
just media in general. So it's hard to find. So I think, you know, just getting the word out. You know, like I said, you know, yeah, the first time I heard Spillage, it kind of just stopped me in my tracks. And you guys put out, you know, your music's the kind of music that for me is, it's not background music. It's, I sit down and listen to Spillage. It's the type of music, like, you know, sometimes I'll be doing work or doing whatever, painting or
Hmm.
whatever I'm doing, but a lot of times I stop whatever I'm doing and like and listen, because I'm like, this is, that riff was amazing, or that lyric, wow, that was really cool, you know. And let me
Awesome.
rewind and listen to that again. I got to listen to, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and just sit down and listen to this, you know, crack open a beer and check this out. Yeah,
Right
that's
on.
what I love about what you guys do is, I, you know, that's, and I'll, you know, I will say, sorry, I'm talking a lot.
No, you're awesome. You're
um,
awesome. I appreciate it.
I wanted, and I, you know, I'll say that this is, uh, you know, my question about touring and touring with the new album
Hmm.
is somewhat, I guess you could say, um, you know, kind of for my own sake, because I'd love to see you guys live. So I was like, yeah, you coming out this way? You coming
Well,
in my
what our
area?
plan is, Victor, is that the record's going to be out, or the CD and everything's going to be out September 8th. The vinyl, I've heard. I just met with Lotar yesterday. Where all our inserts are for both of our records. The test presses are back. He picked them up today for the record, so everything's really close. Then the manufacturing, hopefully, I'm not going to hold it. Right now. I had previously said November possibly, but if it's October when the vinyl is out, then it'll as soon as I'm available. Now, pre-orders. Anybody who pre-orders the record, we will send them the digital download so they
Oh,
can
nice.
have all the music prior to when the record comes out. And so so we'll have that available as well. And then when I send you your stuff, you have to remind me, because as you're talking, I'm enjoying your background
Oh,
there
thanks.
that you have all that, and so I'll get a Spillage poster for you as well, and we'll get that out
Oh,
for you.
cool. Thank you. That'd be great.
Right
Yeah.
now, thank you, appreciate it. But yeah, so but remember, yeah, so if you're a vinyl lover out there in September 8th, if you want to buy the record or pre-order, we will send you the digital download at that time.
Nice, nice. See, and I love that too. That's what I think that's great that, you know, small record companies, a lot of small record companies do that. It's frustrating because, and I won't name any names, but some of these bigger record companies, you just get the record. You don't get a download. You got to buy if you want a digital version, you've got to buy it. And some of these guys are big. And I think
Yeah.
it's cool that there's a lot of smaller record companies that are like, hey, we're going to send you the digital download and you get the vinyl, which I think is, that's great. That's very, very cool that you guys do that. And
Yeah.
speaking of record companies,
Yes.
so tell me about your record, because you're the VP, right? Of,
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a small label. It's really Lothar, Keller, the Destroyer. It's his record label. His dad was cool enough and had the foresight many years ago to get this label set up for Lothar, to be able to release his music on it, and so that's basically what he was using it for, like for their previous Sacred Dawn releases. And so over the years, he and I had gotten together because he was the vocalist on the first Spillage record,
right.
and that was a Spillage project. But so so that's when we decided that we were going to try to see. We had this crazy idea, Victor, that we wanted to have a record label where the musicians actually owned their own music.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? Yeah, we thought that would be a good thing, especially since that was your thing. So we had a business plan made up, and about how we could accomplish that. And um, there's an upfront expense to the bands, but it's only on their own recording and their own merchandise, opposed to like some of the, I'm sure you've heard some of the packages, like now you buy everything from us. You buy your records, your merchandise, everything has to come from us. Well, this was kind of like the opposite way. You own everything. Now, of course, you have to buy it because there's nothing free,
Yeah.
right? Nothing's free. but now you own everything. So how many stories have you heard of bands like, oh, I can't re-release that because the label still owns it?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, and so we thought that this was a great opportunity for we'll call them seasoned musicians, people who are adamant about their product, and their brand of music, to own that themselves. um so, and that's been the thing, and I think our roster is pretty cool. I mean, we have some pretty
Yeah,
cool bands on our roster, so I mean, they're all doing really well. The new Carbellion release was great. The new Alchemy Fire release was really good. So um again, but here we are in this kind of crazy world. So
yeah.
as far as Kumaran goes, so I've been blessed kind of to be part of that, because it's an opposite vision of what's going on in the industry, but it
Yeah.
was a more of a musician's it is more of a musician's vision of a record label, we'll
I
say.
love that. I think that's a cool idea. Yeah, it's too. It'd be nice to see more of that. I think in the
Mm,
world, musicians owning, their own music. I think is that's important. I think because there's, yeah, as you mentioned, there's so many bands. There's, I mean, just a multitude of stories that you hear constantly of, yeah, these bands getting screwed, or it's just the music unavailable. Even to fan, like you can't find something.
right.
I'm trying to think of any band. I remember there was some band an old metal band from the 80s. I can't remember who it
Yeah,
was.
you can use the
Yeah.
trouble the
Oh
Run to
yeah,
the Light
Trouble.
record. The
Yeah,
Run to the Light record. It was
yeah.
not available for, and now that Hammerheart, released all the other records, Metal Blade was like, huh, and from
Maybe we should release
Bruce
this.
and I were still very close. I talked to him, all the time. He was like, oh, it's doing pretty well. The re-release is doing pretty well. So of course it is. It's a good record. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so
Kind of mind blowing. I think some of these record executives just don't seem to have any concept of, anymore. Don't seem to have a pulse on, a finger on the pulse of what's happening, especially when you go, I think online, especially metal forums and the bands that people are talking about, and then you see that, these, the music's out of print, and it's like, you guys are missing out on a lot of money right now. uh,
yeah, right,
so it's
right.
crazy. So yeah, I love the fact that you all have control of your own destiny. I think that's important,
Yeah,
especially as an artist. I think it's really,
yeah,
because
yeah,
especially when you hear about bands from the past, especially the 60s, that didn't even own the rights to their own songs at all. I couldn't even play them, like John
right,
Fogerty not being able to play Creedence songs, or he'd get sued. Like,
right.
wrote the songs. That's insanity.
Yeah, yeah,
Or the
I
Beatles,
know.
and Capitol Records. Anyway, yeah, I'm preaching to the choir.
Sure. Well, the funny thing is that for the most part, if it wasn't just one other individual, most of the time it was the label, it was the lawyers,
Yeah,
that were involved. It had nothing to do with the music. It was all the legalities and the money of it.
yeah, and I guess that's the hard thing with the music industry, because it's art, but it's also a business, and a
Yeah,
lucrative business.
yeah,
So of course you're going to get lawyers, and all the suits involved, and yeah, which is frustrating as a music fan, because we don't give a shit about any of those people. Like, we want to hear the music. So
right, right.
yeah,
Well, and to be fair though, those '70s guys too, they were like the same thing. They're all hippies, like I don't care. I just want people to hear our music. And then, as they get older, and like 15 billion people, and I have nothing.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, so I mean, Willie can attest to all that. Willie Nelson,
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
I couldn't
Yeah.
even imagine what that guy has generated, over his career.
Nope,
So
nope. Yeah, that's insane.
him and Dolly, right? Dolly, another one. I couldn't even imagine what they've generated over
Oh
their
yeah,
career. Just amazing,
yeah,
right?
yeah. They've made so many executives so rich.
Right.
Sad, sad. Yeah,
Right. But
talentless people, talentless suits.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, right.
uh, well, on a happier note, I
Yes,
wanted
sir.
to ask you. So, you've seen my page.
Mhm.
I pair beer with, craft beer with metal and hard rock albums, and
Right on.
prog and stuff like that. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure, sure.
So it's a Friday night.
I know.
So Tony Spillman. You're hanging out at home. You're chilling out. What beer are you drinking, and what album are you spinning?
All right. If I'm at home and I'm not going anywhere, then I'll probably be drinking this stuff from this brewery in a town that's not far from me called Obscurity. And
Mm.
they have this thing called Vanilla Doom.
Ooh,
And remember, I had mentioned I like the Bach type of
yeah,
the darker. The Vanilla Doom is one of those that'll set you down. Okay, so you have to be careful. A couple of those, and you're feeling pretty good. Um, so if I'm doing that, it's really going to depend. Because again, I enjoy a lot of music, so it's going to depend on what mood I'm in.
mm,
Um, However, it could be anything from Django Reinhardt, which I'm a huge Gypsy Jazz fan. But if it
nice.
would be something that would be heavy, um, it would be tough. I'm a big Doors guy. Of course, Beatles is an always go to. Beatles is my thing. I'll just put on just background music just because I just love it all the time. So it
Yeah,
would really determine if it was something heavy. No, that's tough because there's a lot of stuff there. But I'm still in the 70s type of a feel. But you know, hmm? Yeah, Kansas
oh,
is one of my all-time go-tos as well. But
nice, nice.
that I'm big Styx fan, so I listen to
Oh,
some of that. You know what I am, Victor? I've been looking for some new stuff. I'm a huge King's X fan as well.
oh, I love King's X.
Yeah, their first four records just blew me away. So I'm looking for maybe something cool. I'm looking for that next real cool band.
Nice,
You
nice.
got something on your mind? Is something you need to turn me on to?
Ooh, wow. Let me think.
Well, you don't have to tell me now because I don't want to put you on the spot. I know you got a lot of people you deal with,
I got
but
one for you. I don't. Are you? Especially because you mentioned Rainbow earlier.
oh
It's
gosh, yeah,
later Rainbow stuff, but Graham Bonnet.
sure,
Have you heard his latest album, which came out last year?
no,
That album kills. I think it's
really,
phenomenal.
all right,
Yeah,
I'm
check
writing
out
it
Graham
down.
Bonnet, his latest album. So I was. It's funny, and what made me think of this was talking about the Beatles.
Uh-huh.
So in not to get too personal, but in late December, I was taking the dog out for a walk, and
Mhm.
I didn't realize our front step, our porch concrete steps were totally iced over, and I slid down and fell down. I broke my back. So I was laid up for a few weeks in bed, and I listened to I listened to the Beatles quite a bit, and I listened to Graham Bonnet a lot because that album I had just picked it up, and
Right.
it kind of got me through. Just because it's got a
Wow.
lot of killer grooves and riffs, and it's also kind of hopeful. And there's some really beautiful melodies, and his voice is still just
Yeah, he's always been
great.
a great vocalist, but that's great to hear. I'm
Yeah.
really sorry to hear that about you. How's things going?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I went for a bike ride this morning. I'm still a little sore here and there occasionally, but I'm old. So,
Yeah, I'm
what
with you,
is it?
brother.
The Rolling Stone says what a drag it is getting old.
Yeah. Yeah, keep moving though. Movement is health, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Keep
exactly.
moving, right? So, and I'll be thinking about you, all right?
Oh, thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, thank you so very much for chatting with me this evening. This has been an absolute pleasure. Sincerely, this has been great. And for those of you watching again, check out in the description below. Check out Spillage if you've never heard them. You're gonna love this band, killer band. Yeah, I've got links to their pages. Pick up the new album, September 8th, Phase 4. It rocks. It's so good. Absolutely love it. So yeah, cheers, my friend.
Here's to you, brother.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Whoa, what did I do?
Oh, we needed to do our commercial. Let's all go to the snack bar. Let's all go.
Yeah. I haven't heard that for years. That's awesome.